This film is based on true events. Lie. It's actually all made up, and it comes from the wonderful writing directing duo Joel and Ethan Coen. Joel and Ethan Coen are some of my favorite directors in the business today. They have been working since about the early 80s and have a huge body of work that is so incredible. And this film might be my favorite and might also be my vote for the best work that they've done. I'm talking today about the 1996 classic Fargo. I have to start by saying I have not seen the series based off of Fargo, and I've heard it is great and worth a viewing, but today I will just be talking about the motion picture. This film has a really good ability to combine two things that I think the Coen brothers are really, really good at, and it's some of their strongest elements, and it finds the median of this. One of them is gritty, realistic, dark crime, and the other is pure comedy. And in other films of their career, they've leaned to one side or the other. The comedy and you could say Raising Arizona, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Burn After Reading. And there's still elements of crime in all of those, of course, because they just do that so well. And the crime films like No Country for Old Men or Blood Simple, which was their debut feature and is incredibly underrated, and also the amazing Miller's Crossing. These films, again, also have comedy because they do it so well, but they lean towards that darkness. And Fargo is like, boom, right in the middle. It has so much wonderful comedy. It has so much grit and reality and violence that you're almost like assaulted from all sides and don't really know which direction it's going to take. And I think that's what makes it so successful. The film revolves around a ton of seedy characters, most notably William H. Macy as Jerry Lundegaard, who is this smarmy used car salesman.
Babe the Blue Ox.
And he does a great job. This is a character that could so easily be, you could hate him really easily. And you do have moments of not liking him, but Macy plays it so well that you're with him and you actually do feel some sympathy towards him through the bad things that he does because you know there's almost a ignorance and he is getting himself over his head.
Mr. Lundegaard.
And the film opens with him hiring two goons to essentially fake a kidnapping of his wife so that he can extort his father-in-law, who has a ton of money, and pay back some of his debts and further his career as this used car salesman. And the goons are played by the incredible Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare. Steve Buscemi's character is great. And one thing I want to talk about with this film is the screenplay. All of the Coen Brothers films have incredibly tight screenplays, and the characters have wonderful juxtapositions and intents. And this film is great because these two goons, Steve Buscemi's character is like very mouthy and outspoken, and Peter Stormare is like deadpan through the whole thing.
Would it kill you to say something?
I did.
And it's kind of interesting. I have heard that Steve Buscemi has like 150 lines of dialogue and Peter has like 18. And they're not even complete sentences. So you really get this cool dynamic between them. They spend almost the entire movie together. And they are just one of the great elements of this film. Now, the thing really takes off. The plot really takes off. They wind up faking this kidnapping or actually kidnapping the wife, who is unsuspecting and home alone one day. And they wind up getting pulled over by a cop, and the cop discovers the wife in the back seat all tied up and they execute him. And then they also execute a couple witnesses that drive by, and it sets off a chain of events that leads to a lot of bloodshed and destruction. After this scene of grisly violence and execution, we are then introduced to what I believe is the centerpiece performance of this film. This is Frances McDormand as Marge, and this performance of hers is my favorite of her career. She's done so many great things. You could check her out in this last year's Nomadland or in The Great Three Billboards from Ebbing, Missouri. She's also great in Burn After Reading. She's very funny in that. But she is all that is good and justice in this film. She is what you are rooting for and the thing that ties it all together amongst this like landscape of just seediness and corruption. And we're dropped right into her bedroom as she gets the call about the homicides, and is woken up and has to go out and investigate. And we're also introduced to her husband, Norm, who, we see that instantly they have this beautiful relationship, and he gets up and fixes her some breakfast. And, it's just like you can't help but love these people. And there's a really great scene early on where we see her go investigate these homicides, and she gets a wave of morning sickness because she's very, very pregnant. And we get so much of her charm right there, and everything you need to know about this character is in that scene.
Well, that passed.
Yeah?
Yeah?
And the element of taking this North Dakota vibe, which I have never seen in film up until that point, executed so well. The accent, the demeanor, the charm, the innocence of these people all comes through in a way that you're feeling like maybe you're laughing at them a bit, but you're never really laughing at them in a way that you think they're ignorant. You're laughing at just how chipper they can be and how they just have this way of being optimistic and friendly. And again, we have so many ugly characters kind of laced throughout it, and their interactions with these people is incredibly funny. And again, it has juxtaposition, which makes comedy work so well. I think that, the thing about their humor is that it's very situational. And I know that the Coen brothers, as I said, have very tight screenplays. And I know that they like to stick to the script a lot. There's not a lot of improvisation or openness on the set. They're very much like you say what is written on the line. And that works really well for them because their scripts are so tight. And I applaud them for working things out on the page that well before they ever go to set and try to do anything. And there does seem to be some freedom in the performance, in the way these people act and interact, but script is the thing, and they do it so well. And I always it's not really worth comparing, but it is worth bringing up that I think I put them in the realm of Tarantino as writers and directors, and the way they kind of balance crime and comedy, and especially his early films like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. But the thing about the Coen brothers that differs from Tarantino so much is that he often sets things in LA or in big settings like World War II. And the Coens have a way of zooming in on small town America and on a place you never really think of as your set piece for a film. And there's a uniqueness to that, and there's an individuality to each one of their films because they set them in so many different places that we haven't really seen before. They have this kind of otherworldly effect. Other films they do this in, like Raising Arizona, which again takes these kind of small town, simple-minded, what you would write off as simple-minded characters, and gives them a voice and gives them a heart. And I think that's a really cool element to their writing, and I think that's what they do the best. The film is pretty brief. I think it's only like 98 minutes, but it's packed with stuff. It's packed with plot and with movement and again, these characters that have so many different motives, and that get themselves deeper and deeper and deeper into shit. And this just can't help but hook you and keep you there. And the turns it takes, they're breathtaking. And I think, as I said, this film, the way it just kind of comes together with a bow on top, is unlike anything else the Coens have made, and unlike any other film. And it's one of my definitive films of the 90s, and I think it's always worth checking out. And I can watch it over and over and over again and always get something out of it, whether it be a laugh, a surprise, a new line or character that inspires me. And I think you will love it too. Check out Fargo.
These folks drive by. There's a high-speed pursuit. Ends here, and then this execution type deal.
Yeah,